What's up, guys? My name is Lucas McCarty, and I'd like to welcome you to this Introduction to Python tutorial series. This tutorial series is meant for complete beginners who have no knowledge of Python and may not have any experience with any other programming languages. So without further ado, let's get started with lesson number 1. Today, I'd like for us to talk about variables. What are variables? Well, in essence, variables are ways for programmers to store values in a fixed location, and those values can be changed, manipulated, called upon, and we can use them for a number of things, but they are critical components of any program. So let's learn how to create a variable in Python. The first thing we need to keep in mind is that there are multiple types of variables, and so there's different ways to store different types of things. Let's talk about some of the categories of variables. One being, of course, the integer, which is just a whole number that can be positive or negative. Then we have char, which stores a character value, so A or B or C or any character. We have string, which is an array of characters. That's a concept that we will learn about later. But all you need to know for now is a string basically stores a word or a sentence or multiple characters, essentially. And then we have another important type, which is Boolean. And Boolean stores a true-false value. And there's a couple other types, but those are the main ones that we need to keep in mind for now. And so without further ado, let's learn how to declare variables in Python. Well, the nice thing about Python syntax, when compared to other programming languages, is that Python syntax is actually fairly simplistic. It's a pretty great language to learn with. So let's go ahead and start and declare an integer variable with Python. When you're declaring a variable in any programming language, you will typically need to give that variable a name. So in this case, let's name our integer variable that we'd like to create my integer. And then we give it an equal sign, and then we say 5. So let's go over the syntax. It's very simple. We created a variable with a name of my integer, and then we use this equals. Essentially, equals is very important in programming languages. In many cases, one equals sign indicates that you are assigning a value. So essentially, by putting this equals here, I'm saying that the variable my integer has a value of 5. Now, Python automatically understands that because I have assigned my integer value of 5, this is an integer variable, and I can store 5 in here. Now, going back to that thought, that notion that equals means that you are assigning something, we can reassign any variable a value using the following syntax. So, if we want to change the value of something, all we need to write is my integer equals 6. Now, what the computer has automatically done, in line 1, the computer created the variable my integer and assigned it a value of 5. In line 2, the computer has reassigned my integer a value of 6, so it has replaced that 5 with a 6. So now that we've created a integer variable, let's go ahead and run this just to make sure we don't have any errors. This is always a good way to check. And looks like we are all good. We can hit enter there. Okay, now that we've declared an integer variable, let's move on to the next type of variable I mentioned earlier. I believe that was char. So let's just call this variable my char. What am I doing? I'm giving it a name, and now I'm going to assign it a value. And so I want this value to be A. And so the thing about when declaring a character variable, you always need to use these single quotes. And it's important that these are single quotes and not double quotes, because the computer recognizes single quotes. When it sees these, it automatically assumes, okay, I'm going to have a character in here. When you see double quotes, it'll think that you are talking about a string. So on that topic, let's go ahead and declare a string. So let's make a variable called my string equals, and then double quotes, hello world. And just like that, we've created a string variable. And then next, what we can do is we can create another type of variable called a Boolean variable. And so let's just create my bool equals true. And just like that, we have created 4 different variables. We've created an integer variable, which we assigned a value of 5, an integer, the same integer variable that we reassigned a value of 6, and then we created a new char variable, which we assigned a value of a string variable, which we assigned a value of hello world, and a Boolean variable, which we assigned a value of true. So that's the basic syntax in Python for declaring variables. Now, there's a lot of complex things we can do with variables, but to keep this tutorial fairly short, we're just going to end that here. So go ahead and get into your own IDE or whatever program you are using to write your code. And go ahead and play with variables. Create your own variables, make some funky names, add some values, and have some fun. And when you're ready to learn something new and go on to the next concept, then click on the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.